When there wasn't any parking, I figured, uh-oh, and then I remember people walking that way, so.
You and me are both parked all the way down.
All right, good morning. It is January 8th, so I will call this meeting of the City of Findlay City Planning Commission meeting to order. We will begin with roll call.
Mayor Byrne.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. Trombley.
Here.
Mr. Embody.
Here.
Mr. Klinger.
Here.
At this time, anyone who plans to speak for or against an item, if you can please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in.
It's gonna be a long meeting.
All right. Do you affirm that all the testimony and evidence you are about to give in a case before this commission this day will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and will conform to the facts of the case and the rules of this commission? This you affirm under the pains and penalties of perjury. Please say I do.
Very good. You may be seated. All right. Next item of business, December 11th, meeting minutes. Did we have any amendments to what was circulated? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Perfect. We have a motion and a second. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. We have no old items. Moving into new items, we'll begin with application for site plan review SP-01-2026 filed by Findlay Rock LLC to review the proposed construction of a strip mall and associated parking at 2801 Tiffin Avenue. CPC staff comments.
All right. This request is located at the corner of County Road 236 and US Route 224. The parcel is Zone C2 General Commercial. It's located in an area that is a C2 General Commercial area, and it has R1 large lot residential to the south. It is not located within a 100-year floodplain, and the City of Findlay Land Use Plan designated the area as regional commercial. Parcel history, this is the site of the former Lowe's. Applicant had conditional approval for a site plan for a new strip mall from City Planning Commission, which was approved back in August 2024, but the approval had lapsed since it had been over a year without work starting. So that's why we're back here. Staff analysis, Findlay Rock LLC is proposing a new strip mall for the site. The amended plan would add 69,800 square feet of commercial space to the site, split into 8 storefronts that would stretch across the south side of the site. There is an amended area along the east side of the building that would be designated, that's been designated as future subject to change, which could add an additional storefront along the building. This site meets the size and setback requirements for the C2 zoning district. Along the south side of the site, it is abutting a church, which is zoned residential. I have a typo in here that said there was a existing privacy fence. There is a mounding along that south side there, which I believe we previously discussed during the last site plan review. I believe we talked about adding trees along that side, but because of the mound, it was kind of determined it was going to make it difficult to accomplish that. The site plan indicated that there would be 356 parking spaces for the development. The required amount is only 202, so they're above the required amount. Originally, the parking was laid out kind of in a north-south layout, but they've shifted it to an east-west layout. The applicant worked with HRPC to maximize the landscaping as part of their conditions for approval previously. This included providing kind of that landscaped entryway as you come in off of 224 there. So our recommendation, CPC staff recommends approval of the application for site plan review SP-01-2026 filed by Findlay Rock LLC to review the proposed construction of a strip mall and associated parking at 2801 Tiffin Avenue.
Engineering.
Don't really have any additional comments. We did work with the consultant and developer on the water line, sanitary, and all that kind of stuff. So from utility side, we're good on our end. So just make sure we have permits prior to construction.
Fire prevention.
Really nothing different from last time. We just want to make sure they get permits for construction.
Thank you. So the recommendation from staff to the commission is approval of application for site plan review SP-01-2026 filed by Findlay Rock LLC to review the proposed construction of a strip mall and associated parking at 2801 Tiffin Avenue. Discussion. If the applicant would like to come forward.
One additional thing, as he's coming up, we talked with Dan Stone yesterday, and you'll kind of notice that the parcel boundaries are kind of like this around the Chipotle and the Olive Garden. They've discussed with those property owners about the parking layout kind of in this configuration, and they were fine with what was being proposed. So that has been discussed.
Okay, very good. Hello, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about the project.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is.
Can you make sure it's on and just move it on up?
There we go. Now can you hear me? Okay. So good morning. My name is Kyle Van Horn. I'm an engineer with Van Horn Hoover and Associates, representing Van Horn Hoover and the owner this morning. So this is, like I said, this is a prior resubmission for the shops here. Since our last submission, like he said, the parking's kind of changed. The building layout has changed slightly as our tenants have been adjusted, but relatively the same project as it was a year ago.
Thank you. Yeah, so from my perspective, obviously great to see improvement in this area. I think this matches the use in this area. One question I had is when we discussed this in 2024, the developer had talked about working with the property owners of Walgreens and the IHOP property to fix the roadway in between those two buildings because we see that as an egress point for this. I noticed that on this, it does not show that. Do you know, has there been any conversations to make improvements to that entryway that's in such bad condition?
So the road south of IHOP and north of IHOP there, those two entrances, those are actually planned to be repaved. So
Okay.
they will be kind of fixed as construction goes on.
Okay, very good.
What about this area right here? I noticed that's not striped. And that is part of your property, correct?
Correct.
What is the plan for this? Because this is in rough shape.
So the
as well.
plan for that right at this moment is hopefully just to keep it as existing, just to not have any improvements in there. There are discussions that have kind of been ongoing to potentially look at future development in that area.
Is it going to? Are you going to allow traffic through there, vehicles and parking, or is it going to be
In the
curbed?
future, if any development goes on, there'll be potentially a building there or something of that nature. So currently, it is just existing asphalt. We can obviously look to potentially turn it into curbing if that's what your recommendation would be. I understand the concern with just the various traffic routes. Everybody's kind of free for all in that area. So I understand the concern.
So if you're going to be repaving this entire area,
Mhm.
I would want you to repave this area to include that in that.
I agree, especially with that right turn only, and it's directly in that course, regardless of what direction you're going to go to what.
Talking about.
Yeah, that right in only off of Tiffin.
And if that's repaved, I think you ought to restripe that so it at least defines some direction of traffic. On the drawings, it looks like they're on the approaches to the two service drives. Are you replacing those approaches?
Yes. Well, the southernmost one is where we're going to be tying in sanitary, so that one will most likely need to be repaired just with utilities going in there. So we have them called out to be reconstructed if necessary.
And the sidewalk there?
Is the sidewalk in a rough condition? Like you're saying going through the approach itself?
No, the sidewalk between the two approaches. It looks as though you're replacing that too.
We do not have plans at this time to
Okay.
replace that.
Yeah, that's a new sidewalk.
Okay.
Or
Yeah,
path.
right, yeah.
It's part of that path.
Yeah, so they'll be required if they disturb it to bring
Yes.
it back to existing condition, but
Right.
that's the city multi-use path.
Have you done any testing, or do you know if those two service driveways are heavy duty for truck traffic?
I don't believe we had any soil borings over in that area.
Because just repaving it may not be the ultimate
Mm-hmm. That's
fix on
something
that?
we will discuss with the contractor. Obviously, if we get in there during construction and find out it's not a great composition, then we can go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know at least the concrete drives are built for commercial, so those are 8-inch when we poured those. So if they have to go back through there when they do the water line sanitary, if they have to replace half of it, it'll go back to an 8-inch.
Okay. On the drawings, it was a little hard to define just where the property line is with respect to the existing curb that is along the south of the whole property. Because beyond the curb, there's a bunch of vegetation, trees growing up in there. Will those remain?
Those are not to remain. The curb will actually be moved south from where the existing
Oh,
curb
it does?
is.
Okay.
Yes.
I wonder if why we may have talked about a fence at one time or on that or not, but,
Is that a change?
where the future building is, how you gonna finish that off? That just gonna be a lawn area temporarily?
On the east side,
On the east side, yes.
I think it might just be stone at this point.
Okay.
There's been discussion of possibly getting a tenant in there as well in the near
Okay.
future.
But the curbing and everything will be put in even if you don't have a tenant there.
Correct. Yep. So that way we don't have to go back after the fact and disturb all that area.
Do you guys have a construction start date that you're anticipating?
Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. March.
March of this year?
Yeah, starting at least demo because that's going to take a little while just with all
For
the
sure.
existing concrete and it's kind of a mess of a site
Oh,
at
yeah.
the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where are all the people that practice their driving maneuvers
Yeah.
going to go?
I know. I was back there looking at some stuff a couple weeks ago, and there's just semis parked back there. And
Yeah, it's a mess.
It's a
No,
mess,
this
so-
will be a big improvement.
It
It
sure
is.
will.
I'm
Yep.
always really nervous, especially when it's snowy, of people plowing into the old
Oh, yeah.
stanchions that are
Yeah.
there. It's just, so I'm very excited to get this moving. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak for or against this item? If you can just stand up and wave your hand or something. Yep, come on forward. If you can please just introduce yourself, what ward you live in?
Yeah, Steve Dilgard. My question is, being a truck driver, what have you considered on deliveries and how to big rigs, 53 footers, be able to get in and out of there safely without having to go through public parking areas? If they have to come in 2 or 3 trucks to try and do deliveries.
So in response to that, we run truck turns. So the designated truck route would be entering at the southwest corner, going east behind the building, going north, and then wrapping to the west and going back out. Right in front of the building.
So they have to go
So-
in front of the building.
Correct. Not through any pedestrian traffic.
Where you got pedestrian crossing there.
Crossings,
And then he
yes,
has to come through
but-
traffic areas, tight turns with a big long rig with the axle spread back. There's a possibility of running over curbs, hitting cars to come back out.
So we run truck turns. Like I would say, your main concern is that northeast corner of the building. If I'm correct.
You talking about the northeast?
Yes.
Okay, to the right. But when you come out to the left and you try and get back out, you have a tight maneuvering area down there to turn left to go back out the drive you came in. I'm just
So-
talking from
Yeah,
experience.
no, the intent is to go out the drive to the north. Oh, okay. So the intent is to enter here,
Mm-hmm,
go east,
Go
and
around
then
the
wrap
building.
and go out this
come
entrance
around
here.
there.
So that way you would not have to make this turn. So this area would not be designated for any truck traffic.
Yeah, and that area's gonna be congested with all the different buildings and traffic cars. I'm just advising that turn right there to the left at the end of the building and coming across there, you're gonna have public crossing, you're gonna have people parking, you'll have UPS and FedEx deliveries going through there. Just advise that you may need to check into making it wider to compensate more traffic parked in deliveries.
We'll take that into consideration.
That's my concern on something like that. And then trying to get out into traffic on 236 there is a very hectic, even with a car, let alone a semi, trying to go right or left. So,
Appreciate the concern.
And correct me if I am wrong, this is a similar format that this developer has used at other strip
Yes.
mall locations.
Yes.
So they are familiar with utilizing
Correct.
this and
Yep,
having
they've
this
done-
traffic flow pattern.
They've done a couple different ones up in the Toledo area. And, yeah. So
I didn't see a lighting plan submitted. Are you planning on having lighting in the parking area or
Yeah,
anything?
there will be lighting out there.
Okay.
I believe we submitted a photometric plan, but if not, we'll definitely make sure to work with the administration on that.
Okay.
If it wasn't
Did
submitted.
you guys get one?
Okay.
Okay.
We'll definitely make sure to
Okay.
include that.
Thank you.
I believe at the moment now, the south side would all be wall packs.
Just
south
kind of
behind the building.
directed downwards.
Directed down.
Perfect.
Keeping it on our property, and then
Yep.
we will have some light poles in the main traffic parking area.
Your islands where you're doing the landscaping and all, is that curbed areas, or will that be just?
It is curbed.
It is curbed.
Yep.
Would there be, just throwing this out, would there be any advantage of trying to take the trucks out to 224? Have you looked at that?
Initially, we were hoping to just keep that simple loop going east
Yeah.
and west there. If you look at them going on 224, then you would kind of have them going through the main drive aisle north
Yeah.
of the building there, which we were trying to kind of keep the truck traffic away from that main pedestrian area if possible.
Do we know if that truck traffic might be any time during the day? What, most deliveries, daytime, nighttime?
Mostly daytime, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of room kind of behind the site,
Yeah.
behind the building, if they need to do drop-offs on the rear side. And then there is, I believe the Burlington building has a at-grade truck dock as well for their deliveries, which is located right there.
Oh, huh.
There's a room for trucks to park and wait to be unloaded.
If you're
Sir,
gonna
you
speak,
have to
then you have
come
to come
back
back up, just because it's being live streamed, so. Yeah, we can't allow a peanut gallery.
do you anticipate any signage along 224? Is it all going to be on the actual buildings themselves? I couldn't.
Go ahead, answer.
I believe we might look at doing signage on the north side, potentially combined with Verizon in the future.
Okay.
Looks like maybe there's a spot for a monument sign along 224. Is that what? Between the two drive aisles, there's the right only. I don't know where my
Ye-
pointer is, but right there. To the left. To the left, right there.
Okay.
Can't even-
But that's not even on their property.
No, that part's not. That's the old sign.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, obviously, just make sure to work with zoning to make sure that it complies with
We
existing
will.
zoning code items. Do you have another item?
Yeah, with the area back there, a lot of times truck drivers have to come in, they have to wait for a dock time, they have to wait for other drivers, so you need to consider 3 to 5 rigs may have to be parked in there during the day, during the nighttime, to try and do a delivery and get detained on paperwork, so it could be a real cluster mess in there. Also, without signs saying trucker entrance, they're gonna try and come in off of Tiffin Avenue, because GPS is gonna tell them, come in through here, or not, yeah, it'd be Tiffin Avenue there, 224. So signage, just Walmart has a major problem on the west side of town. They're not allowed to put a sign up saying truck entrance down there, which is supposed to go down on the back road to come in. So they come in on the main road and jam up traffic all over the place because they don't know, there's no signage, because the city won't allow them to put signage out. We need some kind of signs there telling truckers entrance down here off of Tiffin to go in there, so they go in the right way on the proper road weight restrictions.
The city would allow that signage.
Right, yeah, they've
So,
never asked for
that's
that,
what
so
I'm
that's, I
recommending.
appreciate you bringing that up. But we do frequently at City Planning Commission require that signs be put up to put the truck route. So I appreciate that feedback. And this area behind here does appear, the building itself is 30 feet off of the back curb. So there is space in there to have some stacking if needed. But Eric, can you make a note to reach out to the Walmart on the west side and look at the signage?
Sure can.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from the commission? Was there other questions or comments from the citizens? All right, any amendments or recommendations?
Yeah, I'd make a recommendation for approval with the following conditions. One is that they submit and approve the lighting plan, and 2, that, I don't know if you can see that area.
Yeah, flip it around. There you go.
There we go. That area gets repaved as well. I don't know how to describe that area in the motion, but I'm sure, Mayor, you can figure that out better than I can.
Yes, all right, so we have a motion, and I will second it, to approve the site plan as presented with the condition of repaving the entire improved area, or entire area, and specifically the kind of Chipotle, air quote, parking lot area, so we don't have a mattress gate on our hands again. And then also the lighting plan be submitted, and the work with staff to determine locations for truck routing signage. Good with that motion, Carrie?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Jacob, when you're ready.
Mayor Maron,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Trombley.
Aye.
Mr. Embody.
Aye.
Mr. Klinger.
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Moving to item 2, application for conditional use CU-01-2026 filed by R&J Properties Findlay LLC to establish a duplex at 432 Tiffin Avenue. CPC staff comments.
All right. This request is located on kind of a triangular block located between Tiffin Avenue, Cherry Street, and Blanchard Street. This parcel is zoned R3 small lot residential along Tiffin Avenue. It's zoned mostly C2 general commercial. To the north, it's a neighborhood of R3 small lot residential. The parcel is not located within the 100-year floodplain, and the City of Findlay Land Use Plan designates the parcel as neighborhood commercial. Parcel history: this site has functioned as a single-family home. Staff analysis: the applicant is requesting to convert the existing home into a duplex. This property is located along Tiffin Avenue, which is considered a major corridor in Findlay. Along Tiffin Avenue, there's a mix of residential, commercial, and office uses, and given the mix of uses, staff didn't have any concerns with the addition of a duplex in this location. The applicant has provided a floor plan for the building. The first floor unit would have 1,270 square feet, including 2 bedrooms. The second floor unit would have 1,164 square feet and have 2 bedrooms as well. These are above the minimum square footage requirements for a living unit. One consideration for approval of a duplex is having sufficient off-street parking. The applicant, at the location, there is currently a parking area in the rear, which is this gravel area right now. The applicant has submitted a drawing that would show a paving provided for 4 parking spots in the rear. So staff recommendation: staff recommends approval of the application for conditional use CU-01-2026 filed by R&J Properties Findlay LLC to establish a duplex at 432 Tiffin Avenue.
Engineering,
No comment.
fire prevention.
No comment.
So the recommendation before the commission, staff recommends approval of application for conditional use CU-01-2026 filed by R&J Properties LLC to establish a duplex at 432 Tiffin Avenue. Discussion. Is the applicant here to speak on this item? If you could please come forward, just introduce yourself. If you want to add any information about your application, we would appreciate it.
Sure. My name's Jonathan Beach. It's nice to see you guys this morning. This is the second property that we have with R&J Properties. The property needs roughly $25,000 to $30,000 of renovation. So being that, we decided to move the property to a duplex. That process will probably take us about 2 or 3 months. This summer, we'll complete the parking project in the back, which will either be asphalt or it'll be concrete. So at that time, we'll probably take a look at that once the property is up and running.
Real quick, for the different units, is the first floor unit entering from the front and the rear from the back, or how does that work?
Good question. So the upstairs unit is going to be entering through the front. So as you enter the front of the building, there's steps, and you'll take those steps to go up to the top. The back door, or the bottom unit, will be entering from the back door.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think that this is a great improvement on that property, and I think a good use. It obviously is a more commercial area, so I don't think it's going to be disruptive to the neighborhood. I think it will be good to get that paved area, or that area paved and improved. One comment that's not a condition, but just a personal preference is obviously there's not really any trees in that area, and I'm a big fan of having, you know, nice greenery and trees. So, you know, maybe look at doing some plantings there just to improve the landscape. And obviously then there's also the, you can request trees through the city Shade Tree Commission. They do an annual allocation of trees as well.
Okay.
So just maybe look into that.
Okay.
Question I have is on your parking layout that you submitted. I think you either need to make it wider in the east-west direction, or you need to have a little bit of a back around on that far south parking space, because you can't back out, and you're 32 feet.
Mm-hmm.
You can't back a car out straight and then make that turn if the other 3 cars are in that spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to make it bigger than what we actually submitted. At the time of submission, there was snow on the ground, so we're kind of trying to work through the snow to see actually what the ingress was from the street. It's wider than what we think. I think we have like 24 feet there. I think we were planning 14 on the diagram. So, you know, with a 4-bedroom, you know, 4 spots is, we're probably going to go to either a 6 or 8 spot type of parking.
Okay. The other item, since the second floor can only enter from the front of the building, correct?
Correct.
Then we would need to have a hard surface between the parking lot and that front entrance.
Yeah, so there's a sidewalk that goes around the outside. You can't see it. It's in the shade of the house.
Oh, okay.
So to the west of the house, there's a concrete sidewalk that goes around the entire property.
Was there anyone else here that wanted to speak for or against this item? Very good. With that, I will motion to approve application for conditional use CU-01-2026.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Will the city review on the permit, the parking that he submits then at that time?
Yeah, we'll make sure that it meets all the requirements.
Who do I submit that to once that's completed?
Zoning department.
Okay, thank you.
Eric. All right, very good. Whenever you're ready, Jacob.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Trombley,
Aye.
Mr. Embody,
Aye.
Mr. Klinger,
Aye.
Mayor Mirren.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Yep.
Moving to item 3, application for conditional use CU-02-2026 filed by Greg Cornett to establish a welding business at 1704 Gay Avenue rear. CPC staff comments.
This request is located on the north side of Gay Avenue at the intersection with Harrison Street. The parcel is zoned C2 General Commercial. It's located in an area that is a mix of C2 General Commercial, R3 Small Lot Residential, and CD Condominium. Parcel is not located within a 100-year floodplain, and the City of Findlay Land Use Plan designated the parcel as neighborhood commercial. Parcel history, the unit's part of a development that houses multiple businesses. In the past, various businesses, including welding, has been performed at the 1704 rear location. Staff analysis, the applicant's requesting a conditional use to operate a welding business on site. Mr. Cornett is moving his business from a nearby property located on Moracle Boulevard. In terms of the building size, this location is larger than its previous location, measuring 3,300 square feet versus its previous 2,600 square feet. The location of the business is closer to Lima Avenue, which should be less disruptive to the residential neighborhood to the north. One item that staff had concern about was the lack of screening on the west side of the site. So in my notes, I noted at his other location that he had large dumpsters and trailers outside. After I submitted the comments to Mr. Cornett, he provided me his lease agreement that says he's not allowed to store trailers and other dumpsters outside of the property. He did note that the height of the building allows him to maneuver his forklift to get the the dumpsters and trailers into the building so that he doesn't have to have things waiting at his old location. Just with the way that the building was laid out, it was much more difficult to maneuver things in and out for the business. So he wanted to let us know that that shouldn't be an issue with leaving materials outside. So with that, my staff recommendation, I'm going to amend it to just say staff recommends approval of the application for conditional use CU-02-2026 filed by Greg Cornett to establish a welding business at 1704 Gay Avenue rear without that condition.
Thank you. Engineering,
No comment.
fire prevention.
We just want to make sure he gets a fire inspection before he opens, just like the last place.
Very good, thank you. So the recommendation before the commission, staff recommends approval of application for conditional use CU-02-2026 filed by Greg Cornett to establish a welding business at 1704 Gay Avenue rear with the condition of calling for a fire inspection. Discussion. Is the applicant here to speak on this item? If you could please come forward, just introduce yourself and add any additional commentary regarding your application.
Yeah, I'm Greg Cornett. I own Cornett Metalworks. I found this building, it's not far from the Moracle Boulevard property, but the ceiling, I got a lot more ceiling heights, door heights. I can put 3 or 4 of the big hoppers in there at once and work on them. I don't need to store anything outside. And it's a lot bigger building, Just when I started out on Moracle, you start out with not having much money, you start where you got to, I don't think I've had any issues. I've had complaints in the past from one person on the Moracle Boulevard property, and evidently me moving, they complained again because I was moving. So I'm not even trying to move away from her. So, and I still got a complaint, but I think this is a lot better building for me, a lot bigger, a lot more space.
Very good. You're practically ready for politics.
Getting close.
I think that this helps address some of the concerns that we had at the other property and the issues that we kind of worked through. I think it makes more sense, less impactful, farther away from the more residential area. Obviously, keeping things inside, and just that sightliness is important. So I think that this, makes sense. And again, it is a conditional use. So if we start to have significant issues, then we can work through adding further restrictions or revoking it. But from my perspective, I think that this makes sense.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it makes a lot of sense. And there's not a whole lot of room to store stuff outside anyways. But with the removing the recommendation for doing a fence, would you be okay with adding a condition saying you're not going to store anything outside?
That's fine. I'm not, yeah.
Okay.
I don't need to.
So as part of the complaint that we received, there were some photos, and there was a dumpster outside. Is that an orange dumpster?
My personal hopper outside the door?
Yeah. Does your lease agreement, is that?
I can have a trash can as long as the lid's on it, or a dumpster with a lid. It's got to have lids on it so trash don't blow around.
Okay.
But if you go to the top view of your pictures here,
I don't have.
right across the street, there's a dumpster sitting right on the corner.
Gotcha.
Which part of the building are you using? The white part of the building?
If you is there a top view of this? Go back to the original plan. So I've actually got more than 3,200 square foot. I've actually got around 55,000 square foot because I'll get the pointer here.
I assume the buildings are all
This one
interconnected.
here,
Yes.
and this one here.
Oh, so
It's
the
both.
two buildings there.
Yes. The front one, the big with the white there, it's got 15-foot ceilings in it.
Nice.
And a 12-foot door. Back one's a little small, don't have as much ceiling heights, but I got other stuff, storage room back in there, and where I keep materials.
Are you still working out of the Moracle site?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
Part of the complaint that we received, did you add any gravel to the site?
No, it's it's ground asphalt is what's down.
Okay. Did you add that to the site? Okay.
No, it's been there. Nothing's been added to the outside of the site.
Was there anyone else here to speak for or against this item? If you did you, ma'am, I couldn't tell if you raise your. Okay, you got to come down. If you're going to be on the record, you got to be on the record. Sorry.
Question for, right, until then. The property line, I would assume, is kind of that little tree line back at the back of
Yeah,
the.
to the fence over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a little fence line.
Okay. And at this point, are we not requiring a fence then? A screening fence on the west side?
No.
That's up to you, Mr. Daniel.
Oh, okay. Well, well, the mayor only had one condition, so.
Sorry to point out one more thing. I should have included this strip here is owned by the same entity. So that
Okay.
this line should probably have included this little side lot here. So there is a little bit more space here.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Can you just introduce yourself, please?
My name is Deborah Dick. I own the property. I do not allow anybody that rents off of me to have anything outside of the building. So there is, in my leases, they're not allowed to have anything. So there's no way that he's going to have anything sitting outside of the building. And if there is, it's going to be hauled away. And I take care of that property. And any of these people back here will guarantee they drive by and my place is clean. Now, you drive by any time on Gay Avenue and you look at any of those properties, my place is clean. You look at their property and you don't see what you see at.
When you say
appreciate
clean,
it.
you still allow the trash receptacle though, or the dumpster out?
What am I supposed to use?
Huh?
What am I supposed to use?
Well, we're just looking for clarification.
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah.
In other words,
A dumpster, just like you or anybody else. Blanchard Valley Hospital's right across the street is a dumpster just like he has.
okay, and that's permitted.
Yeah, that is allowed
Okay.
because
I just wanted to
I
clarify.
think he
Oh.
wants to clarify
Yeah, we're just
your,
clarifying.
your permissions, because you made it very clear that nothing's allowed to be outside, and you're going to be very attentive, and we appreciate
Yeah.
that. But to your point, sir, you do need something to put your trash in, and you're going to have a dumpster outside for your use of trash, and that's,
Yeah.
because we understand.
Yeah, yes,
We just
yes,
wanted to understand the
yes.
clarity of that.
And the lid is, and it's
Yep.
small. It's small.
Yeah.
It's not very big.
Yep.
And it has a lid and it's closed.
Okay.
I go by every day and I check.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. We just wanted to
Yes.
clarify that. So, anyone else that wants to speak for or against this item?
So, yeah, while the owner's up here, I do have a question about the asphalt groundings. On the aerial, there is the gravel there, and then it looks like in the picture that we received that there are asphalt grindings. Did you put those down?
Yeah.
Okay. So any new surface, just so you know, has to be a hard surface if you're using it for an access to the back of a building like that. So we can talk through it if you call my office and work out. You can either seek a variance to keep those asphalt grindings there, or you have to make it a hard surface going back to the entranceway to his building.
Okay. 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 It was done before we bought the place.
Okay. We just need to figure it out.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, not a problem.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this item?
Anybody else?
I think, yeah, Robin, come forward, please. Introduce yourself.
I'm Robin Wally, 5E. I'm West Park Block Watch president. I didn't complain, Mr. Cornett, although because I'm the messenger, I always get the bullet in the back, which is fine. The property there is well maintained. She does a great job. We have a tattoo shop there in the front. Had a little bit of a problem with customers and a mini bike. We have a neighbor across the street. He took care of the problem. It's a well-maintained property. I guess that my concern was that didn't tell anybody he was moving out. He was moved out for. I even knew he was moved out. One of the concerns from the neighborhood was that at the last thing you guys went from welding and you threw a sandblasting thing in there. One of the neighbors, actually 2 neighbors down there have oxygen a little farther down. They were wondering about sandblasting outside. If she's not letting anything go outside, it's him that's going to absorb the smell inside if you allow the sandblasting. It is actually 2 different businesses. It's a welding business or a sandblasting business. And it got very blurry on what the other facility was when the landowner had to put in the parking and the fence and that. I guess the only thing is that if the sandblasting is going to be in there, it is more than a welding shop. It's my only thing. He's been a good neighbor on Moracle Boulevard. We sat outside all summer long. We watched him come and go. We've never had a complaint. I've never filed a complaint.
Okay.
His father
Let's
don't like
not get
it.
in a back and forth. You speak your
I'm not
piece.
no back and forth. I'm just saying he's a good neighbor. He had no complaints there. She's even a stricter landlord. The girls were new. This landlord is not going to let anything out of the ordinary fly. So we have no concerns. The sandblasting, it's a real big red flag area. That's all I have to say.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Anybody else? All right, with that, I will motion to approve application for conditional use CU. I'm taking all your thunder. You took my thunder, I'm taking your thunder. CU 02-2026, filed by Greg Cornett to establish a welding business at 1704 Gay Avenue rear.
Sorry, I've got one other question.
Yeah.
So if you mind going back to the aerial real quick. So with this property being owned, by this property as well, is there any parking that's planned to be done over here? No. No? Okay.
Will
I'm good then.
Well, the gravel area that you have there, is that utilized for the tenants parking?
Yep, and as Eric mentioned, they will work together to determine if any improvements are needed on the drive access on that west side.
Or variance.
Yep.
And I had a question too.
Yeah. Oh, I asked if anybody had questions, and y'all
Well, here we
sat
go.
there.
You go so quick.
I know, I was,
Sorry.
Greg, sandblasting, do you plan on doing that inside the building?
Yeah, I said that one time I hired a company in to do some sandblasting that was outside, and it was the same company that the city of Findlay we went through on the last meeting had hired to do sandblasting at the park at Riverside. It ended up being louder and dustier than I thought it was gonna be, and it wasn't gonna happen again. But as in if you're a welder, fabricator, I do have a small sandblast pot inside.
Sure.
It comes along with it, so it's not two
Right.
different businesses. It's all in the same, but it's done inside.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, the other, like I said before, the other building was just too small, and nothing would fit in it. But, and then, the complaints before, but, all the neighbors that were directly right next to me, I spoke with every day.
Sure.
And never had any problems with any of those.
No,
people,
I mean,
so-
at your previous site, I think there was a few small hiccups in the beginning, and then you quickly rectified all those, and so, and I agree with everyone, I think this is a better fit for you, and I think you'll be happy there, and I'm glad that the property owner is very judicious and on top of everything, and that makes me feel even better about everything.
I agree.
I'll second the motion that's on the table to approve.
Sorry, was there a condition on there?
No,
No.
did not include any
Nope.
conditions.
No condition.
No, and I think
Well,
that,
just a
Fire inspection.
yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Jacob, when you're ready.
Mr. Trombley.
Aye.
Mr. Embody.
Aye.
Mr. Klinger.
Aye.
Mayor Murn.
Aye.
And Mr. Martin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving to item number 4, application for conditional use CU-03-2026, filed by Carrie Conan to establish a distillery at 300 West Front Street. CPC staff comments.
All right. This request is located on the northwest corner of the intersection of West Front Street with Southwest Street. This parcel is had been going through the process for a rezone from R3 small lot residential to C3 downtown commercial. To the north and west is a neighborhood of R3 small lot residential. To the south and east, it is zoned C3 downtown commercial. Parcel is not located within a 100-year floodplain. Parcel history, the building originally was a funeral home, but has housed several offices up until about 2008. Since 2008, it primarily operated as a duplex. The property was approved for the rezone from R3 to C3 in December of 2025. Staff analysis, the applicant is requesting a conditional use to be able to operate a distillery. The applicant has provided staff with a draft copy of their business plan during their rezoning process. The building would be converted to have a small lounge and bar area for patrons and guests. The back addition is kind of where they would do their small batch distilling. During the meeting, the applicant kind of noted that the size of the building would only allow for around a maximum of about 50 people in the building. With the location, staff can envision also patrons visiting via foot traffic rather than vehicular traffic. There is a small parking lot in the rear that could offer a few additional off-street parking spaces. Staff would like to see some sort of fencing installed along Southwest Street to help soften the view of the parking area. This should be done with a combination of landscaping as well. Given the proximity to residential, Planning Commission may wish to consider adding conditions to help minimize any impact. One way to potentially deal with this is to have an hour restriction on the business to ensure that it doesn't become a nuisance to the general welfare of the residential neighborhood. The applicants did indicate previously that their hours of operation would be a bit limited, kind of focusing on those weekends, and then just being open from time to time for small tours during the week. Parcel is located within the Downtown Design Review District, which reviews the aesthetics of the building exterior. So they will need to receive approval from the Design Review Board prior to opening. The next Design Review Board meeting is scheduled for January 14th, and we kind of discussed with them about getting on the agenda for that. So, staff recommendation, staff recommends approval of application for conditional use CU-03-2026 filed by Carrie Connon to establish a distillery at 300 West Front Street with the following conditions. Adding fencing and landscaping along Southwest Street along that parking lot area, and to receive approval from the Design Review Board regarding the building aesthetic. And before I wrap up, staff, we send out notices prior to the meeting to neighbors in the area within 500 feet of the property. We received one email from a resident on Washington Street expressing concerns about the amount of vehicular traffic and off-street parking in the area, and just generally voicing that they viewed this as a negative for their neighborhood. I did receive a call from another property owner who owns some buildings in the area, and he was very supportive of the request. He was highlighting the fact that it's been dilapidated for probably the past decade, and he was really excited about the prospect of having a distillery in the building with them cleaning up the site and making it productive again. So just wanted to let staff know about those before moving on.
Hey, Jacob, quick clarification on your recommendation. When you say landscaping along West Street, are you talking about on this side, or are you talking about on this side?
The street side.
Just the street side. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Engineering?
No comment.
Fire prevention?
No comment.
Very good. Thank you. The recommendation before the commission, staff recommends approval of application for conditional use CU-03-2026 filed by Carrie Connon to establish a distillery at 300 West Front Street with the following conditions: fencing and landscaping along Southwest Street along the parking lot, and approval from the Design Review Board regarding the building aesthetics. The applicant could please come forward, tell us a little bit about your project. I don't know if we also have some of the imagery to be able to put up. Do we have these pictures to put up as well? All right, if you guys can go ahead and talk a little bit. I have a couple copies. If you actually want to hand it to them, because we have.
I have.
So hand them to the crowd. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for hearing us. My name's Sam Galick, with my wife Carrie Connon, and Sammy Brown, a realtor. Real quick rundown on what the plan is. So, if conditional use is approved, yes, we do plan on putting a distillery in the building. So phase one would basically clean up the property from the outside aesthetically, and then if you look at the photo, the large white square area on the back, it kind of looks like an addition if you're looking at it from the street view. That area, it's what's left of like a barber shop and offices. That would be the distillery area proper, and that would be the first, like phase one, is to get that converted and up and running, along with a tasting room and a bottle shop. So initially, the open to the public would probably only be Fridays and Saturdays, afternoons, early evenings, to come and take tours, or by reservations throughout the week. If someone to come and take a tour, have a tasting. And at that time, you could buy bottles from the bottle shop at that time. At this time, we also plan to have product in the Ohio liquor agencies, so that's where our main source of income would be. Once that gets going, phase two, convert the front to a cocktail lounge. It's a low volume, based on its size, and anyone's familiar with distilling process, it'll be low volume. And then in the front with the cocktail lounge, again, it's a low capacity site. It would only be open, limited hours like we talked about, Fridays and Saturdays, and then special occasions, possibly on an evening when Performing Arts Center has an event, or during town functions, during festivals and that. So it's another venue for people to partake in. Pending any questions?
When you say phase one and phase two, any idea what type of time we would see from doing phase one to where the rest of the building, at least the exterior and the interior mechanical systems and all, would be upgraded, or is that all part?
So based off I know the first time we were in here, we didn't have a lot of the numbers of how much it was actually going to cost to get this building rehabilitated. So because of the cost, it's going to be to plumbing, heating. There's no heat in it right now. So HVAC, excuse me, getting over a cold. Everything from basically all utilities need to be replaced, windows, the whole bit. The first step will be to clean up the site so it's more attractive. We understand about the presentation and for the neighborhood and all that, and then getting the distillery going. It could be up to a year even before we could start working on the actual cocktail lounge. Part of that comes from just the distillery process. This being the very first step, just getting a location. Then we have to go through all the hurdles to get approved, get licensed, get it renovated to meet all the codes, so that we can, have basically an industrial kitchen in the back there. So once that goes, then start producing product, which takes a little while, get it to market, have some income coming in, and then move forward with, instead of sinking $500,000 in the front of the building and we don't have any income yet. So that's the proposed.
So what might we inspect in phase one? The exterior of the building being painted, at least in that portion, or the whole building?
No, the whole building. The whole building to become, more appealing.
Okay.
Curb appeal. And the roof, it's every aspect of.
Are you going to have barrel storage or anything like that for aging on
So
site?
there will be a little bit.
Okay.
Just basically, and I'm not looking through the code. It'll be, we can have 500 proof barrels, 500 proof gallons on site, which would equate to, you could have legally up to 10 barrels. I'm not saying we're going to have that much there, but that would be our limit.
Okay.
For aging.
So a couple questions. So when we obviously were doing the rezone, there was a number of citizens that came to the council meeting and were asking questions. So can you talk to me a little bit about what potential odor would be outside of the building from the distilling process, if any?
You will smell cooked grain. You will smell cooked grains for sure. And as far as the distilling process goes, we will have vents, so there will be some of the odor going outside. But it's not a strong, I don't think it's a strong odor. You can definitely smell it, but it doesn't smell like alcohol. It smells more like cooking.
Yeah, like
What's the frequency of that? Because I know there's the process, you cook it and then it has to sit and distill, and so talk
Yeah.
through that timeline.
Okay.
Is it a constant, like if you go in certain areas of Hancock County and you smell like, oh, I know what that factory is, right? And it's a constant smell,
No,
so.
absolutely not. So the cooking process, like I said, you'll just smell like cooking corn, like if you ever made grits or something. That's what it smells like when you mash. And then, yeah, you have to add your yeast and let it ferment for a couple days. That will be in a closed system, so you won't smell that. And then distilling we'll probably be doing twice a week. And that takes, depending on the size of the still, that probably takes, anywhere between 6 to 12 hours. So.
Have you reached out to like the Marathon Center for Performing Arts or the property behind you to talk about, being able to kind of recommend parking on your website at some of those
No.
different locations?
No, I haven't, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that, that would be beneficial, and obviously there is the public lot down just one block, and so I think that there is adequate parking around. It's just kind of getting people to know where it is at. Obviously, some street parking is always going to happen. I don't see it as being totally negative to the neighborhood. I just a couple of things, because again, the questions that were brought up, wanted to be able to, obviously noise, if you had anything outside. It doesn't sound like right now you guys have any plans for outside events behind, but maybe in the future, like any outdoor seating or something like that. So I probably will recommend fencing and landscaping on both sides of the back of the property to screen between the two properties.
Well, my only question is, we do have to get delivery vehicles in there. So I don't know enough about that to know what kind of area we need to get stuff back in there. So
Yeah, so I don't think that it will be a problem from that perspective. My larger concern than screening from a roadway is screening to another property,
Right. Yeah,
especially a
I-
residential
Right.
property.
I
So I think
agree,
it makes
for
more
sure.
sense for there to be a fence on the west side.
for sure,
And then, maybe some landscaping or tree plantings. It looks like there was a couple,
There was like
maybe.
2 trees there,
Yeah, already there. On the east side, obviously making sure that there's still good accessibility and maneuverability. So I'm just, as we talk through it, that's probably something I will amend or recommend amending on that.
What kind of delivery, like how big of a truck? Are you talking about like small box truck
Yeah.
or, okay, so not a full
No.
semi, okay.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
I was like, I was still talking, Carrie, but
Oh.
sure, please, go
I'm
right
sorry.
ahead. No, I'm just kidding, it's okay.
Let me turn that
I'm just joking, it's okay. And then the sound, obviously, just reiterating that there is a sound ordinance in the city of Findlay, so I don't think, in interior, you're gonna be fine. I'm not expecting crazy, loud bands in this facility. That's not really the vibe. But if anything were to occur where noise was disturbing the neighborhood, we do have an enforceable sound ordinance, and obviously the different timing of that. So just wanted to reiterate a couple of those things that I know were concerns of the neighborhood. And want to reiterate, this is a conditional use. So obviously you're making a significant investment here. We want you guys to be successful. If this proceeds and then we start to have a lot of issues, we can revoke the permit. And I just always want to reiterate that with a conditional use permit. We have had to do that in the past. Typically, rarely, we're typically able to work through the issues, but just want you to be aware of that. Other questions from the commission? Yeah.
Sorry, I came up with a question. For the distilling in the back, how tall are the stills that you would be using? Because I know those can get kind of tall. I don't know how much
so
the clearance is there.
There's enough clearance for the one I want to get. I want to do a hybrid still, so it's only got a couple plates, so it's not as tall as some of those crazy ones. We're not going to have a vodka still or anything like that, because that's not something I'm into. So, and I don't plan on ever getting one. I mean, if what I've seen a lot of other distilleries do is open up the roof and build an addition on top if they have a still that they need to, but I don't have plans for anything like that.
Back to the odor. Is there an odor while you're distilling?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but C3 does not require parking?
Correct.
3C zoning does not require parking, right? But if you do use that for parking back there, it's going to have to comply with the requirements of the parking lots in C3 district, right?
Well, just
so it wouldn't be just a fence.
Any parking lot in the city of Findlay has standards, 9
Yeah.
by 18, 10
Okay.
or 9 by 20, 10 by 18, et cetera.
Yeah, but the screening of that is going to have to follow the guidelines of the downtown parking. Correct?
No, yes.
In other words, we can't just put a wood fence up on each side, I don't believe.
So we have the, Marathon Performing Arts Center has that brick combination wall, but that's only required on Main Cross, Main Street.
Okay.
It's only
gotcha.
required on the major thoroughfares through downtown. Our suggestion, and part of it is, so a parking lot is required to have screening. A commercial parking lot is required to have screening, and so this is required.
Yeah.
It's more of a headlight protection. So a car pulls in here, their headlights aren't shining into here. So what we envisioned, our recommendation was kind of a 4-foot kind of picket fence type situation with some shrubs on the outside.
Okay.
I think it would make, in general, a nice improvement, and the code requires part of that. We did discuss this screening here, and I'm fine with that. There is a building here, so the screening potentially would not be, there's not enough room for screening, obviously, here.
Yeah.
But my recommendation would potentially be just some screening from there to there.
All right. There are other folks here that wanted to speak for or against this item. If you can just come forward and introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Rodney Phillips. I'm the 6th Ward City Council where your proposed business is going to be. Couple of concerns. I'm really not for or against, but I did have a couple of concerns, which is, first one, this is a relatively new business for Findlay, a distillery. And I have some concerns about what would happen if somebody wants to put a larger operation in, or your business expands, because there's another issue besides the odor that we need to focus on, which is something called whiskey fungus. Are you guys familiar with that? Are you guys familiar? It's a black, sooty, black mold looking product that gets on flat surfaces. It's not dangerous to your health, but it's very pervasive, and it does damage property. And the close proximity to this property to the Marathon Center for Performing Arts, the odor, the farmers market, which is a well-attended event outside, it's a bit concerning to me where all of this will end up. And I don't know how many barrels you plan on producing, but the whiskey fungus actually escapes from stored barrels as well. It isn't just created during the distillation process. So the more product you have on hand, the larger the issue is going to become. So it's, to me, something that we should study a lot more. Obviously, in a small operation, the research I've done, you can get this fungus from maybe 200 to 300 yards away in a small, sort of confined business like you're describing. But that's pretty theoretical. I'm sure it's based on environment and all kinds of other factors I don't understand, but it's definitely a concern, at least to me. And I'm all about small businesses. I mean, I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm just not sure how we control all the environmental factors to make sure it comes out the way that it should for everybody involved. And Law Director Feiner, I'm also not sure, something to consider is if you permit one and then somebody wants another one, where that leaves us. It might be something to control a little bit like we did with cannabis, like study it, this is how we want to do this type of operation. So I'll leave that to your expertise. Thank you.
So great questions, and I would love for you guys to talk a little bit about the whiskey fungus. just one concern or statement regarding environmental. I would assume that the mold and nastiness of the existing property's condition is probably a lot more impactful to the area than the whiskey fungus, which primarily my understanding develops when you don't have proper condensation control in the area. The second is related to the distilleries. Again, distilleries are a conditional use, and therefore every single one has to go through this specific process to be able to evaluate where it should be going. So it is the same process that we are following under using for the dispensaries. The only difference is with the dispensaries, we've put a cap on the number that are permitted in the community.
Sure.
And just one other point, the Ohio Supreme Court has been very clear that every piece of land is unique, and every piece of land has different issues. So approval on parcel A is not guaranteed that you have to approve for parcels B, C, and D.
Perfect.
So that's just a fun fact that I always love to tell people. So.
Thank you.
He likes to show his nerdy knowledge. Yeah, can you just talk a little bit about the whiskey fungus, please?
Yeah, so as far as I know, there's no craft distilleries that have issues with it because of we will never be having that, like 10 barrels would be our max. And for the most part, we're going to start with really small barrels anyways, because we are like that. We are low volume. We are not going to be making a lot of stuff. And also, I don't know outside of Kentucky anyone else who has the fungus off the top of my head, and I could be misremembering. So as far as I know, it's not in Ohio. Yeah, and it's not something that just, if you're not distilling, you're not going to have it. So I don't know. I don't think the neighbors will have it, and I don't think we'll have it either.
So is this something? Sorry, I didn't realize you go ahead.
What causes it?
I think it has something to do with moisture, and it's some kind of fungus that's attracted to the evaporation.
Okay.
So it's like, the Jim Beam or whatever, people have those giant rig houses.
Right.
So mass production type
Mass
scenarios?
production, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely something to talk about, but I also, you're educated in this, as you've pointed out, so you're the expert in this. This is something you want to be successful with, so I trust you're the expert to know not to have that running around or
Yeah.
floating around in the
Right,
air.
yeah, and I mean, we will be properly ventilated, so I don't think moisture's gonna be a problem, because obviously we don't want that to be an issue for the other stuff in there either, so.
Was there anyone else that wanted to speak on this item? I saw, if you can just come forward and introduce yourself, please.
Good morning. My name is.
Down nice.
Okay. Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Amy Rash. I'm the property owner at 125 Southwest Street, which my property sits directly across from the side entrances of 300 West Front Street. So if you'd like to consider this question for a minute, how many of you would like to go back and live in the house that you were born and raised in? I've lived in this property for 58 years. I raised my family there. So do I think that this building needs to be zoned business? Yes, but I don't think it needs to be a distillery. Here are my reasons why. One is smell. According to the American Distillery Institute, it produces an odor that can range from a strong nail polish remover to a smell of strong rotten eggs. And even the micro distilleries can have the smell. That's not only the only thing released during the process of distilling. It is the ethanol is released, and ethanol can be released during the storage in the whiskey barrels, if that makes sense. So this ethanol, you may think, well, what can that do? Well, it can cause the whiskey fungus, which we've talked about. I'm a nurse. I'm an RN. I work full time, not home a lot, but I do know that it can cause toxic if you breathe it in. It can cause it to be toxic to be breathed in. My oldest son is 33, and he's severely autistic. He lives with us. I care for him at home. So one of the things that he likes to do is he likes to sit out on his swing, on the porch swing. Any time of the year, he'll sit out there. So he goes to Can Do Studio. he goes to the Dayhab, which is in the old Rocking U building. So I'm concerned if the wind carries this ethanol, it can also affect the people, not only in my certain little area, but also clear over to Candu, Marathon Arts Center, as well as other businesses in the area. Parking. So they talked about parking. I measured my street. It's 17.5 feet from curb to curb, from the curb on Front Street or on Southwest Street to across from the 300 building to my residence, to the curb of my residence, 17.5 feet. It's 4 feet in that alley going across. I measured that too. My question is parking. A lot of us only have driveways for 2 vehicles. So if anybody comes to visit, and that includes the rental properties, they have to park across the street on Southwest Street. There's no other place to park. For events at Marathon Arts Center, sometimes we get a lot of overflow parking, such as the farmer's market. So people will park on our side of the street, on Southwest Street and Front Street. Delivery trucks, they said about a box truck. I'm wondering how they're gonna get a box truck down the alley and make the turn to go into the back for deliveries. If they put a fence up, how are they gonna deliver into the side entrances there on 300 West Front Street? Or even parking at the corner of Front Street and Southwest Street. So there's my concerns there. Noise. Distilleries do make a noise. I've looked it up, I've done my research. The pumps make a noise from heating and cooling, hissing steam, bubbling condensers, and sounds of glass breaking and metal, which can travel to residential neighborhoods. Looked it up. Cincinnati had some distilleries, micro distilleries, and there was a noise ordinance there that affected the apartments that were nearby. There are apartments on Front Street, along Front Street and Southwest Street. They're at the corner, 200 Southwest Street through 216 Southwest Street. So the noise would also travel to them too, along with the ethanol gases, which could cause the whiskey fungus. So those are my concerns. So,
Perfect, thank you.
yeah.
They're all valid concerns. I think, they've been in front of us talking about this once. They were at the city council meeting, and so I feel like
Right.
they've talked through a lot of those issues. To my concern, I would say on the sound, I guess to Connie or Carrie, sorry. I bet you get that a lot, Carrie, Connie. Can you come forward and talk a little bit about the noise? Do you wear hearing protection when you're doing the distilling inside?
No. Hearing protection is not required unless you're grinding grain, which we don't plan on doing on site. So the actual distilling process is, you're running a regular house boiler to heat up your still. You're not going to hear your fermenting unless you're right there, so it's a pretty quiet process. I'm honestly not concerned about that. And as far as ethanol vapor, the whole point is to capture the ethanol. So I'm not going to let it go anywhere. And yes, at the very beginning of distilling, you can have the fingernail polish smell. It lasts for, depending on the size of the still, not very long. It's the first one that comes off, actually, and it goes by very quickly. And that you also capture, and that is your cleaning product you use to clean your distillery. So
Minutes.
yeah, minutes. Sorry, minutes. Yeah, it goes by very quickly. So
Okay.
Is there anything you plan on doing to control some of the odors if they're released up?
I mean, I didn't realize it was going to be an issue, so I haven't put much thought into it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of a scrubbing mechanism that anybody uses. I will look into it, because if it becomes an issue, then yeah, of course, I'd want to mitigate that. But Yeah.
Can you compare, this is just a question. I know we have, right outside our door, we have a beer brewery, and they brew beer, and they have the doors open, and once a month, it smells like rice. It smells like French fries. Then my other experience is driving down I-75, going to a Bengals game, and there's the Jim Beam Brewery, and for about a half a mile, you smell
It's kind of sweet.
it makes me flash back to college for a minute. But all jokes aside, can you compare what beer brewing smell is compared to whiskey distilling? Are they similar or are they different?
They're different. They're
okay.
different. Because you're taking the brewery, you cook the grain and that's it. Then you're done, right? So then we take it the next step. And so now we're taking that, we're straining it, and then we're putting that into a still, and we're heating it up to just under boiling point, right? So, because alcohol is like 186 or something, and so that's as hot as we're going to get. And so we're creating those vapors, and so you're going to get different smells. There's actually like about 12 different distinct smells that you get, and most of what you're going to smell though is that sweet smell, that corn smell.
Can you explain? So it sounds like some of these, you said capture.
Yes.
So ethanol, you're capturing that because that's part of the drink?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
that's what you drink. So I don't want that to escape. Plus, I don't want it to catch on fire, right? So it's all part of being safe, and I want to keep as much product as possible because that's money going out. If yes, there is evaporation in barrels. You can't, the devil's cut and angels share and all that stuff, right? But that's why you can only have 10 full-size barrels on site, because that's the why they have that rule. So you don't have too much evaporation where it becomes an issue.
Could any property owner do this?
What do you mean?
If I was really interested in whiskey, could I go home and set?
Nope.
No.
No.
Okay.
No, we have to get federal approval first, then we have to get state approval. It's a long process. I have to buy all my equipment, have it all set up, be ready to go. Then federal comes in, says yes or no. And then once I have that, state comes in and says yes or no. That's another reason why it's going to take a while to get to the cocktail lounge, because it's going to be at least 6 months probably before we have our license to distill.
Okay.
So yeah, it's illegal to make anything at home at all.
Okay.
Nothing.
Well, there goes my weekend plans.
Yeah.
You're making moonshine in your bathtub?
I'm learning like everybody else.
Now, you can do that in a sense. You can buy a jar of Everclear and then put whatever you want in it. Now, you've made your own gin or whatever. That's legal, but.
And also disgusting.
Not recommended.
When you say you're going to capture the gases, I think, coming off of this, how are you capturing
Well,
that?
it comes off as a liquid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's with this, the still separates the ethanol out, and then you have your condenser, and your condenser has the cold water running through it, turns it back into a liquid, and then you can capture it.
Oh, okay.
And your spirit's safe.
It's a closed system, though.
Yeah, it's a closed system. Yep.
Other questions or comments from if you want to come forward and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name's Ron Reich. I'm live in the 6th Council District. My wife Amy.
Can you talk
We live
just a
there.
little bit louder?
I'm trying. So another one of my concerns is they have them say 500 gallons wherever they have wherever their size of their stills. They have couple bad batches. Where does that go? Do they dump it down the sewer system that already mixes in with the sewer gases? And that's going to make smells through the neighborhood through the sewer system.
Can you talk about a disposal process? They wouldn't be able to just drop it in a storm sewer. That is illegal.
Right.
And if you're putting it down a
No,
sink.
I'm not saying they're going to do that. I'm just saying, is that where's the waste going to go?
Okay,
When you
so-
you're going to obviously go through that. That's part of the process.
So the grain, when the grain gets separated out, is allowed to be supplemental feed for animals. So
Okay.
we'll just give it to farmers.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do. And then for the water part, because once you're done with the still, you still have water in there. So that pH has to be adjusted to be able to put down into the drain. Then if we make a bad batch of liquor, my first plan would be to redistill it, because you can always do that. And so if I have to distill it 5 times, I'm making vodka. So at least I'm making something. if it's so bad because we got moldy grain or something and we can't redistill it, there is a process for that. We still have to pay taxes on it, so it's gonna be something that I don't ever wanna do because I still have to pay my taxes. So, that we would have to, I forget, I don't remember all the steps you have to take, but there is a process that the feds say you have to follow because you can't just put that high proof down the drain. That's not legal, so.
Yeah, and they have to account for all of it. We have to account for it, and we have to show where it goes, and it has to be approved where it goes. So we haven't, obviously, we haven't worked through that yet, but.
You know, you have to think that this process is more regulated than the pharmaceutical process. So this is the most regulated business in America. So everything is kept track of to the letter, so, yeah.
A lot of my concern is just, a lot of it's the smell, because I'm a recovered alcoholic. I've been clean and sober for over 35 and a half years.
Good.
Nice.
You know, and when that gets emitted, that's gonna really affect me, because that's gonna make my body want it. My body wants it, my mind don't. But still, I would have to fight that
Well,
every time.
We can talk through like better times for distilling. If there's
know,
certain times that
but-
you're gonna be gone.
Yeah, I'm
you know.
there, I'm disabled, so I'm home all the time, so.
Okay.
But anyhow, you know,
I didn't hear what you said. Are you a neighbor then?
no, I'm,
No, I mean a neighbor to this property?
I live at 125 Southwest Street.
Okay.
Well, we live across the street from it. I have nothing against them, it's just,
Yep.
you know, it's totally part, I have a lot of concerns.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
A question regarding the grain that you're cooking. You're giving that to farmers, but you're doing small batches, so I assume it's not substantial quantities at any one time.
Right, we'll have
Do
a
you-
collection tank.
You have
and
a
then-
collection tank
yeah,
that's
and
that's
then-
closed?
mhm,
Okay.
Yep. Cause yeah.
Okay.
I do want to understand the parking situation too. So I think the recommendation is going to be screening along this side and then screening along this side, possibly up to that accessory building. But what is the plans for parking? How many spots do you think you're going to be able to fit in here? And I know we talked briefly about trying to, use some of the public spots or some of the MCPA spots. But maybe talk us through your plan for parking, because you said maximum of 50 people. It's not 50 cars, but it's a lot of cars.
It is. So as far as parking goes, we haven't measured it out to see, and honestly, we haven't looked at the city ordinance for how large spots need to be in turnaround radius and all that. Just eyeballing it from being around 50 years and seeing parking lots, I'm guessing you could park 8 to 10 vehicles in there comfortably. And we haven't taken into account, we will need a dumpster, as any business does.
Sure.
So as far as that goes, and then there is the public lot that's about a block to the east. We do hope to not congest the street. Difficult for us to enforce that so much as where people park, but
Sure.
we genuinely don't want to do that. So we will have that parking in the rear. Again, most of the time, we don't expect a large volume of people, other than maybe special occasions.
Is public? Are these both have public parking available? They both do.
Yes.
West does, I don't know.
Yes,
Front.
it does. I
Does it?
forgot
They
there.
both do.
I believe this is only parking for the neighbors. This is only parking on this side of the street, on the west side of the street, or is it both sides of the street? Just one side of the street, correct?
One side.
This is a fairly narrow roadway.
Yeah,
The only
right.
parking along here.
And I was just going to add, when I was looking at this and thinking of the parking challenges, I see it similar to like the old Swan House tea when it was not just the coffee shop. They've expanded their hours, but you would have big events there periodically, baby showers or bridal showers, whatever. And, it definitely, people had to look for different areas and park, at down a couple blocks or in the area. So I feel like it's a similar parking challenge to that.
And as you addressed earlier or stated, potentially didn't really even think about reaching out to the Performing Arts Center and see if there's a option for off-event part-time parking, if that would be something we can do, or rent spaces, or, I don't know, never really looked into the parking situation before.
Well,
so-
and you mentioned, you expect people to go to the show and come over
Right.
here. So they're already going to have to be
Probably.
parking
For those
in
events,
the
yes.
parking lot or something like that and then
Right.
walk over. So if
Mhm.
that's kind of when you're doing your timing, the parking is going to be kind of addressed one way or the other.
Yes, and hopefully during city events too, people would just walk, because it's 2 blocks from Main Street.
And then you mentioned you're going to have limited hours of operation. What are you anticipating for those hours of operation?
So they wouldn't be conventional, like you'd think of like a bar till 1 a.m. or whatever. It would be, I know most places like 10 o'clock. We haven't set hard and fast times for what would be good for us yet and good for the neighborhood. But ultimately, typical, especially starting out with tours, it would be Friday, Saturday afternoon into early evening. For tours, I wouldn't see it going past probably 6 o'clock. So once the cocktail lounge gets open, I could see us, we would like to be open till probably 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
But, that's, I mean, at this point, everything's negotiable, right? So, yeah.
Other questions or comments? Yep, if you can come down, introduce yourself. For the record, I know you, but everybody else needs to know you, Mickey.
Michelle Landis. I'm in, I guess, Ward 6, Tom says. I want you guys to look at that. Look at that picture. That black square down from where they're talking about, that's a 9-unit townhouse. Directly to the west of that, those are all multi-purpose residences. Now, if you look next door on the west, you don't even have room to put your little red box in there between the building they want and a residence. It is that close. The entire neighborhood is that close. Every direction, oh, that wasn't right. You can say all you want about, to this direction, that direction. It's zoned commercial. It's zoned downtown. There are still residences there. The only place without a residence is the Performing Arts Center, which I think they've contracted or agreed with the new Justice Center building, whatever. They seem to have their employees parking there now.
Weekday.
Yeah.
So it's
'cause
weekday
I've
hour
seen a
parking.
lot of them
Mhm.
in there. I did some research before I came up, and I gotta say, you reassured me on some things, but I still don't want you in my neighborhood. Sorry. The smell during the distillation is described as rotting eggs, sulfur. Some people describe it as the smell from hell. That's what it smells like. Beyond the residences there, can you put that back up? Yep. Thanks. Okay, right across Southwest Street from where this proposed location is, that building not only is a residence, it's a piano teacher. Every time I go by there, there's a little kid knocking at the door, waiting for his lesson. Now, we had a big fuss the past couple months about homeless people sitting out in front of a music store downtown. Now we want to put a bar across from a music teacher's. That kind of is a little hypocritical, a little changing. Is that okay here because it's a residence, but it's not okay to put a problem, in a business music thing? I'm especially curious from your point of view on that, since you were kind of the driving force behind the music store on Broadway and wanting to do something about that. Can you tell me what the difference is between this music place and that one?
Well, first of all, I would be opposed to homeless individuals hanging out in this area as well. Individuals patronizing a business and being inside is a different in my mind. Additionally, I think the hours of operations are going to be pretty different. My mother is a music teacher, and I know Mr. Allsbrook very well.
Yes.
And so I don't see it creating the same challenges that we were experiencing in the other areas. So they're not the same, in my opinion, really at all.
Okay, while you mentioned the homeless people, the unhoused, I'd like to have a discussion with you. You come down and visit us someday, completely off the subject. But the city mission runs their low barrier shelter approximately a block from this location. Those are the people that can't pass drug and alcohol tests, that have mental issues. So now we're going to have a distillery here, limited hours. Doesn't mean they're going to have limited work hours, but it's going to be vacant. We're going to put a fence up on part of it. I can tell you from experience that you're going to have trash, you're going to have attempted break-ins, you're going to have people sleeping there, you're going to have people attracted to the smell of alcohol. And I would be willing to bet you any money that the same people that dig used cigarette butts out of trash cans are going to go through your trash. They're going to attempt to break into that storage unit for your spelt. They're going to attempt to access this. Has the city given any thought to that issue?
So people breaking the law are held accountable for breaking the law, no matter what type of business they're interacting with. Additionally, we're getting some contradictory statements. I'm not going to get in a back and forth with you, but you just said that they're going to be drawn to the smell of alcohol, but you started by saying you're being drawn to this, or it's going to be the smell of sulfur and hell, so I doubt people are too attracted to that. But again, I think that that's not really what we're going to be experiencing with this business, and if they do, again, this is a conditional use. If we start to have smell issues, then it can be addressed. But you know, I don't think that it's going to be attracting folks. Just like we talk about, I've been to sake distilleries, I've been to whiskey distilleries, I've been to all these businesses, and not once have I been, you know, kicked back because there was excessive smell. And this is a much smaller operation than other ones that I've been around. So I understand your concerns; they're all valid. But we hold people accountable if they're breaking the law, no matter if it's because they're trying to dig through one business's trash versus another. They're probably more likely to go over to Great Scott and dig through their trash than trying to get old, you know, feed containers, because there's really not a ton of byproduct that's viable that's going to be available. And we already went through the discussion on how they have to dispose of any product. So somebody might rummage through the trash once, but there's not going to be anything in there.
And the CPC and you folks here feel that a distillery, a tasting room, AKA basically a bar, operating limited hours, is a good fit for a residential area. Limited hours, people work round the clock. People aren't off on weekends. People sometimes have to work on weekends. Amy, that spoke up here earlier, works 12-hour shifts at nursing homes. She may have to get up at 2 in the morning to go to work. She may be trying to sleep at 10 p.m. at night, at 5 p.m. at night. Putting this in a residential area is not a good fit. And I'm completely at a loss for why it's even being considered.
So let's talk just for a moment about all of the other potential uses of this, because you said, folks have said, hey, this would be a good business, but just not for a distillery. Well, if you make it a coffee shop or a bakery, you're going to have a lot more foot traffic. You're going to have a lot more extended hours. You're going to have a lot more deliveries. You're probably going to have many more people lingering around because it's not as restricted. If you have be a salon, you're going to have smells from coloring dyes. You're going to have, you know, I know lots of salons, you walk past them and you smell smells. So I think that, you know, if we're going to talk about then substances being available, okay, Great Scott is right across the street. They're open nearly, way more hours, and they have alcohol products, they have tobacco products, they have smoke products that are way more available, in my opinion, way less controlled, way more visible than this operation.
And they are not surrounded by residences.
They're right on the other side of the street. I know that that's not immediately next door, but I think that we are overstating the impact. And I understand the concerns. That's why we're having the conversation. That's also why it's a conditional use, so that if we have issues, it can be addressed. But from my perspective, this is the same as pretty much if I wanted to have an at-home craft brewery set up and invite friends over on the weekends to hang out in my house. And I think that they're going to be held to a similar standard. Plus, then we actually are able to provide more restrictions where they're not allowed to have a loud party in their backyard, where they're, you know, our friends who are sober are here and clink glasses all night. So I just feel like we're kind of blowing out of proportion just because it is related to alcohol. But I see this really as a, you know, could be a bakery in this space. that would be much more impactful, but you're going to be sitting inside with controlled hours, with responsible individuals. And if someone starts causing problems, then we bring in the authorities and hold people accountable.
I certainly hope you're correct. I'm pretty much convinced you aren't. The fire department has no comment on this. The risk of fire, the risk of problems in the neighborhood, you guys are going into this full speed because, people can walk there from the Marathon Performing Arts Center. We're going to have foot traffic from them. Good, I understand you want to bring things like this to Findlay. I continue to say this is not a good location for it. And apparently, that's not up for consideration. So, I appreciate it. Do you have to rebut anything I might have said?
I just, while they're coming, I just have about 2 years ago, we were in the process of filing charges against this property.
Yeah, I remember that.
For maintenance issues because they're in the Downtown Design Review Board district. My first visit to the property after receiving complaints, none of the doors, the back door was wide open. And folks were entering and leaving the property. Sometimes, not unheard of in the winter time for someone to have a fire inside of a building to stay warm.
We have a lot of problems with that in
Sure.
the entire neighborhood.
And then just from an urban planning standpoint, mixed uses have long been in cities throughout, and a local bar on a corner within a neighborhood was commonplace. But I don't even consider this a bar in that this is not going to attract University of Findlay students to hang out at 5 o'clock, to watch the Super Bowl. It's a boutique, it's an experience. Because they serve alcohol doesn't mean it's woolly bullies. It's more of I liken it more to the Swan House than woolly bullies. On the
I
spectrum.
think I gave you the wrong impression. I would rather they strictly served alcohol rather than distilled. My problem is with the distillery itself being in a bad location. Is this something any of you would want your neighbors to be building next to your house? Do you want a distillery next to your home? This is different from beer and wine. This is spirits. I'm sure she can tell you the difference. It's not a residential thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're gonna be neighbors, but
Appreciate your feedback, and I would just add too, it goes back to, the fire inspectors, this is a very highly regulated business. And so they have to go through all the permitting process, all of the inspections, all of the recertifications on an annual basis to make sure that they have proper ventilation. So I understand there is a risk, there's a risk with pretty much every business or property, like Matt said, of catching fire and having these things. So understand your concerns, and I think, we do not take the responsibility of impacts to neighborhoods or safety lightly whatsoever, and we're not rushing this through. We've been talking about this for a month and a half, 2 months at this point. And, we've been in communication to understand, so.
I had to look up my abbreviations here.
Can you use the mic, ma'am, please?
Sorry. Just as an aside, the National Fire and Protection Association has quite a bit to say about small and boutique distilleries. They complain that the requirements for them have not been updated for quite some time. This leads to actually more risks. It might be something that needs to be looked at a little more closely. I do remember you saying things, fire prevention, things than that. But apparently it's the smaller businesses that you speak of regulations, and they say the regulations have needed updated for many decades now, especially with proliferation of the boutique distilleries. that might be an issue forthcoming. You know more about that than I do.
Well, the craft distilleries have to follow the same rules as the big guys do. The only difference is since we have a lower volume, some of them are in such low volume they don't have to have sprinklers. But we are going to install sprinklers because we want to have the capacity to be able to have 10 barrels there if we want. That's already built in, you know. So, and as far as like electrical stuff, you have to have it off the floor so far. You have to have it away from the still so far. If not, it has to be explosion proof. You know, that's all in the regulations. It's all there.
I struggle with this a little bit simply because of the comments that we've had, but at the same time, do we let a dilapidated building just sit there and fall down?
Well, it's gonna
or
take
do you
$500,000,
do you take the
so.
opportunity to have someone invest into that and redevelop the property? And we've heard some of the concerns and all, and being a conditional use gives us a little bit of control if things don't go the way they need to go. Your overall plan, I think, would be a great improvement to the community in itself. The business, yes, it has a few ups and downs and concerns.
I'm pretty familiar with the distilling process, and at the volumes you're talking about, I don't believe the odors are going to be a concern for the neighbors any more than a bakery or something like that would be. The concerns that I have are more on, well, how do we keep parking? How do we keep the business side of it? How do we make sure that doesn't impact the neighbors? And that's where I go back to, let's make sure it's screened. Let's make sure there's appropriate hours, and let's make sure there's appropriate parking available. I think those are going to be real impacts that we need to think about. How do we mitigate that?
I agree with that. With that, I would like to make a motion. There's no more. Oh,
Come on
sorry.
up top.
Everyone around you raised your hand over the last half hour, and you didn't. So come on up.
I am very sorry, and I'll leave it to the law director if I'm allowed to do this. I support this. Unfortunately, my sister just texted me, and I need to go watch my nieces for an emergency situation, so I need to skedaddle to watch some kids. I will vote in support if I'm allowed to do that. Probably not, but if not, then mark me down as whatever you need to. I apologize, Tom. I have to go deal with a family emergency.
That's fine. This is going to be short and sweet. The general information says that to the north and west is R3 small residential, which is true. To the south and east, it says it's C3. That's kind of misleading because it's families that live there. It's kids that live there. I'm assuming that this place is going to be like a happy hour type hours, 5 to 10, something like that. Kids are out playing. Do we want our kids to see somebody that evidently has too much and stumbling down the street or whatever? I don't think that this area is a good spot for an adult business. I wouldn't want to see an adult bookstore in there. I wouldn't want to see a smoke shop in there. I just don't think an adult business is right for this neighborhood.
Anything else?
That's it.
I appreciate that.
I think everybody else said everything else.
And I go back to, I think that some of your comments, and I hear them and they're valid, but I think we're categorizing this with happy hour at B-Dubs or happy hour at Frickers for dollar wings, where kids are actually more exposed to an adult situation in that environment than what they would be here when people are coming and going.
Or at West End.
Or West End Tavern that's a block away,
Right
and it's
down the
closer
street.
to the mission that you were concerned about this being at.
Yes, but
So-
the West End was grandfathered. If that was to be a new business, they would have troubles getting a bar in there again. Same as the Stony Ledge. Those were all grandfathered.
As far as Frickers and them, that's the adults that took them in there. The kids are outside. The adults have no control over what they're seeing or what's going to happen. That is my biggest concern there.
Fair. Anyone else?
Quick question for the owners. Are you planning on food? I know you have to have a minimal amount of food in the tasting room from to do the liquor license, but what kind of food are you
So
anticipating?
for a tasting room, we're not required to have food because you can only serve up
okay.
to 2 ounces
Yep.
total. So that's, we get 4 of those little
Yep.
tiny cups. So we're not required to start out with food. Yes, we will have food when we have a bar because that is required. We plan on having a small kitchen, but I would like to move to a full kitchen like in year 3.
Okay.
But again, still, it's just, we can only get so many people in there, so it's not going to be a big thing.
Thank you.
I don't want to miss anybody else. You have more to add, sir? There's someone else behind you, sir, that's...
I'd like to know more about this phase 3, really, because they keep moving it. How far are they going to move it? Is it going to end up being, part-time now? Later, is it going to be a full-time bar as they get bigger and grow? Their hours are going to increase?
I'm not the one proposing, so you have to ask them, sir.
That's
I don't know that answer.
That's what I'm wondering. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, we don't intend for this to be a 7-day-a-week operation.
Yeah, as
For
business
food, for-
progresses.
Sure,
I
sure.
know how
But,
business is.
no, absolutely. But this, think of it like an afternoon, early evening coffee shop, that kind of vibe. There's not gonna be sports playing. The food idea is it's to go with it's a luxury experience. It's not dollar beer night. So it's gonna have a limited crowd. We have limited space. So, the intent is that you would have relatively expensive type appetizers and small little things, think like tapas or what's the Japanese? Izakaya, kind of things. So it's not going to lend itself to an everyday business because we're not going to have that kind of clientele. But weekends or special events, that's what we're aiming for. And like I said, it's going to be frankly, it's good. It's going to be on the pricey end, because of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's.
Not everybody's going to be able to afford that.
No, it's not. It's not.
Hope you'll be able to recoup the money you put into places. It's going to take you years upon years to make that back.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just more concerned. That's what my concern was. Is it eventually going to escalate to where it's going to really be,
Yeah, there's no intention for it to turn into BW3.
I do think that's a valid point. That's something we should consider. If you want to move to full kitchen, that would be, I think, something we would want to put a condition on to say, hey, come back here for additional approval for that. That would be my recommendation. So, I mean,
I assumed that was the process anyways.
Okay, well, we're good. We're on the same page then. So that would be if they wanted to,
I have a question. So, does the city planning commission intend to expand the Dora? Because the Dora ends at the corner of Marathon Arts Center.
I don't know if we can.
The authority to expand the DORA is city council.
Okay.
The planning
Okay.
commission does not have that authority.
Okay, I just wondered, because the Dora ends right at that corner.
Correct.
So if people are parking at Marathon Arts Center and then going over there to the bar or the distillery, they would have to walk, if they get their product and walk back to their Marathon Arts Center, I don't know, are they gonna be allowed to take the product?
No.
No.
They can't leave with an open container.
Okay.
They can leave with a bottle that's closed.
They can
Sealed.
leave with a closed bottle.
It's just like you
Okay.
would anywhere. You could.
Okay, that was my question, because I'm not sure how that would affect the DORA.
It's a good question.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
You have something to add?
Just a thought, Denise said this, nice conversations here is, it's a nice I don't live in the neighborhood, it's a nice appearing neighborhood, everything seems to be, other than what it might have now at City Mission, but, I keep thinking of German Village. I don't know if you people are familiar with German Village. And I go down to Mohawk Cafe, and outside is all these neighborhoods, kids, whatever, everybody seems to work together and everybody prospers. And if I don't like it, I got a little brick house I can sell for $1 million. I mean, I'm thinking, why not make, let's make something good out of it rather than look at it from the negative side. And not that I minimize people's concerns, but I've seen it work is what the only comment I'm making.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I see no hands. I got a lot of great discussion today, a lot of concerns, a lot of clarifying, very knowledgeable in this. Thank you for all your patience going through this with the community and so forth, because this is unique and it is new. But with all the points that have been made and the improvements, I think, Dan, you hit it. Your comments were well taken about there are concerns, there are uncertainties. This is an investment in the community, in this neighborhood. And I think being a conditional use, as it's been stated multiple times, if it's not working, we're going to come back to the owners and say it's not working. And your investment, I think that you're looking to invest in this over the next however many years, you're going to make it work. So it's harmonious with the community. And I believe that. And if not, we'll have the discussions on how we deal with that. So I am going to make a motion to approve the application for conditional use based on, and this is where it's going to be a little generic, on working with the team over here on the fencing around the parking on the north side of the building, if you will, for landscaping and fencing that is appropriate for the neighborhood, but it also doesn't impede your need to ingress, egress with trucks and whatnot. The other would be coming back if there is, you have two phases technically, I've heard, right? If there is a phase 3 for expansion internally for larger kitchen, food, et cetera, come back and work with us again to walk through that. And then this is, I don't think this is a condition, but more of a conversation with the Marathon Center as well as parking in the public, how we can be less intrusive on roadway parking and we can actually utilize parking lots for any of the patrons, if you will, that will be there. It might overflow. Those are my, am I missing anything?
Can I be more specific on the screening? I would like to see screening on both sides of the parking lot.
Right.
But I agree with working with staff to figure out what's the most appropriate for the area.
Is it acceptable that we do screening, but in this open area, or so? In my mind, what makes common sense is this building is along the property line there.
It's screening.
Screening from there to there.
I'm not a screening expert. That's why I trust you all to make it.
I just want to make sure we were. That's what I was anticipating. And then the other thing, you may want to consider initial conditions for hours of operation, at least.
Okay.
To me, I mean, it could always be changed. They could come back in a year and say, hey, everything's going great. A recommendation, hours of operation till 10 p.m. For public hours and 11 p.m. for private parties. You could do something like that also.
Visiting the site and looking at the condition of some of those outbuildings, I would probably be inclined to run the screening all the way back, personally. On the west side.
Do you have a pointer?
No.
So
The building probably runs right against the
yeah,
property
the
line.
building's right on the property line. So then you want screening here, or?
I guess I just kind of like the fact that it screens it all the way back personally, but again, I'll let you folks work that out when you determine what type of screening it is. Yeah.
There's always a concern with screening is just vision for cars coming, you know, that kind of thing.
But maybe not, within 10 feet of the back or something,
Yeah. And the timing is.
Okay.
Carrie and I were talking about limitation of 10 p.m., I think, on hours of operation. And as we get settled, and if there's an adjustment, I think we'd come back and have a different conversation here if there's latitude. Because like Live at Arms is a Thursday evening, it's not just your weekends, but so I think 10 p.m. is a reasonable, so it's less disruptive in the neighborhood. So.
And then I just would like to clarify on the condition, I'd say that they must return to Planning Commission if they move to a full kitchen setup. I think that's kind of the wording.
That's what I meant. That's probably
Okay.
not how it was said, so I apologize, but yes. Yes, they have to return for phase 3 if there is.
The hours of operation, any thoughts or concerns with that?
No, sir, I don't think so, not at this time. And obviously, if things change, it's something we come back to this council to discuss.
Correct.
I guess I would like some clarification on the different size of kitchen. So what I'm thinking is starting out, you have like a flat top, a deep fryer, a microwave, and, a couple other things. And then a full kitchen, I guess, how much more is that? I don't know. So, I guess I wanted to know what your concept of that is, so I'm not overstepping boundaries here.
So I was kind of feeding off your comment when to me, the initial phase was just a small food preparing area.
Yeah.
And then you said, if we go to a full-size kitchen, then I envision like full meals and.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe there isn't a difference, but you described a difference.
Right, okay, all right, yeah.
Right.
No, that's why I'm asking for clarification, so
Sure,
we're
yeah.
all on the same page here, because I don't want to do something I'm not supposed to do.
I feel you're all looking at me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have to look somewhere.
Yeah, that's not 4 people.
So I'm just looking down the line, and we keep kind of tweaking, so do we need to restate this, Jacob? What do you have?
I would say any substantial expansion of services must come back to Planning Commission for the conditional use. Any expansion of services. That's a little bit vague, but I don't know how else to say it better.
Yeah, because in my mind, what you described is, hey, you might have some light appetizers for folks versus a full meal where people are coming to eat rather than just taste.
Okay.
That's
that makes sense.
the way I kind of see it, but
Yeah.
I'll defer to you guys on kind of the
Jacob's been
official
writing
language.
And
feverishly.
then you're aware of this, but for the general knowledge of everyone, this will go to the Downtown Design Review Board next Wednesday at 6 p.m. The Downtown Design Review Board does not send out notifications 500 feet from et cetera. But at that meeting, we'll just be looking at the proposed, the color schemes. It's purely an aesthetic review. It's not an operational view, should it or shouldn't. It's just purely, you're looking at a green color and you're looking at this and that. So that the Design Review Board would be the very last review that this project would have.
Thank you for that. So
Would
you want
you like me to read back?
Please.
Okay, so recommend approval with the conditions of fencing and landscaping, screening along the parking lot on both sides, approval from the Downtown Design Review Board regarding the building aesthetic. Any expansion of services comes back to CPC for approval, and a limitation of hours of operation to end at 10 p.m. daily. Does that
You
That-
wrote it, yeah.
That sound good?
That was my motion.
Did we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jacob, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Embody?
Aye.
Mr. Klinger?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Trombley?
Aye.
Okay,
I will provide you with some, we will send you some contact information for the Marathon Performing Arts Center. Actually, a representative of the Marathon Performing Arts Center is on the design review board, and I will connect you both, and you can have a conversation. I do think this is an amazing opportunity to share 10 parking lot spaces. I hope that could work out, and so I will connect you Wednesday.
I have 10 seconds.
Yes.
I want to thank everyone for your patience and consideration. I want to thank everyone from the community about voicing your concerns, and I just assure everyone in the room, we want to be a benefit to the community. We don't want to be a detriment. If there are issues, we would like to address them as this goes along, and not have to wait and come up here and discuss it in front of everybody. If there's an issue, we want to address it and be part of the community and make it better. So again, thank you, and it's great to know that there's people around that care, and thank you for that.
great discussion. All right,
Thank you.
with that, there's nothing on the agenda further, so meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I mean, it's fair questions, fair.
I told him last year I would never come back till Teddy's birthday.
Oh, man.